Good morning, guys. Today is October 27th, 2025. Welcome to Crypto Charts Daily. Welcome to the daily report. As you guys could see here, we broke those equal highs. We wanted to see a close above those equal highs to then go push up to 115. If you don't believe me, I said that word for word. Check the last video. And now we would like to see a close above this high on Bitcoin. What am I even doing? What the hell was that? What's going on here? Weird noises, weird noises. I don't know what that noise was, but what's going on here? I'm doing the analysis before the intro, but it's crazy. If we end up getting wicked here today, we'll end up coming back down into the support. And if we could close above these 116 highs, like I said last video, we could then possibly go make a run for all-time highs. All right, guys, as you can see, the market cap is back up to 3.89 trillion, and I did say we probably would not close the week above 4 trillion, but if we could close the end of this month above 4 trillion, that'd be a great thing. CMC 20 up 1.7% here, fear and greed going back to a neutral state. Altcoin season, Bitcoin dominance is Bitcoin's leading the way here. And the average crypto RSI is neutral. Now let's get right into the technical analysis. Looking at the previous week's close, we did not close above the open of that last week's candle. Could be a bearish sign, but we will see if we could close above that on the week. Close this week above 116, we could possibly make a run for all-time highs. If this weekly candle ends up getting rejected, just look at for the push back down to 108. Let's look at the daily time frame. And if you guys are unfamiliar with the Crypto Charts daily report, today's Monday, so we are going to be looking at the weekly candle close as well as the daily candle chart here and the daily time frames. And then, like I was saying in the intro, if we could close above this 116 high today, there's a very good possibility we'll go test these all-time highs again. But if we continue to wick and price keeps wicking and getting rejected at these 116 highs, price will then come down to this support again, perhaps at 108 or 107 again. Ethereum, looking at the weekly chart, we did pretty much close equal highs right at the open of that last week's candle. And this is a pretty good sign here. There is a possibility we could come down and liquidate and wick these equal lows. If we end up closing below these equal lows on the week, then price will definitely come back down to this $3,500 support. But over the next few weeks on this weekly time chart, just look for price to push up to 4,500. Now on the daily time frames, we can see that we did get a close above this little equal high here, this little resistance. And now we will like to see how price pushes past that $4,300 high right here and tests this $4,500 resistance area here. If price ends up getting rejected at these $4,300 highs, just like it is now with this wick and we close bearish, just look for the push to break this daily candle and test higher time frame support again. XRP closing the week bullish after testing some supports here. That's very good. Getting a close above this 250 support. That's very good. So now we will just look for the break and retest. It played resistance. 250 played resistance for a little bit. We close above. Now we could look for our break and retest of this 250 zone. So over the next week, just look for the test of this 250 zone and then the push back up to this $2.80 to $3 resistance levels again. And just like we said on the daily chart here for XRP, closing above that 250 resistance, flipping its support, and we did, it looks like almost, or maybe we did get a close above these highs. So that's a really good, that's a break. And now again, we're just going to be looking for the retest of 250 to then go push back up to those $3 resistance levels. If we obviously close back above 250 on the daily time frames, we'll look for it to flip resistance. Binance coins still reacting from support here. We swept those equal lows right there, and then we did close above that high of about 1150 that I said. We would love to see a close above that high. Actually, we didn't close above that high. Excuse me, we did not actually close above that high. We're still wicking, so it's very important today that we get a close above this $1,150 price range to then go push back to these $1,300 highs. And excuse me, I didn't even look at the weekly chart. And on the weekly chart, we do have quite a bit of liquidity, quite a bit of trend line building up here. Again, there's no previous resistances because we are at all-time highs. And I would expect over the next week price to go test those highs. We could perhaps wick out these equal highs here and then get rejected. But if we close above those equal highs of about 2,300, we should then go print new all-time highs for Binance Coin. Solana on the week, picture perfect here. As we could see 2 weeks ago, we closed right on that support line of 188. The previous week opened on that support line. We held support perfectly. As we could see, we wicked and held support. And we did close a bullish order block, it appears here. So over the next week, look for price to test that 187 resistance again, or support, excuse me. Perhaps sweep these equal lows, and then we'll look for the push back to all-time highs, or not all-time highs, excuse me, but back up to that 260 resistance. If we obviously close the week below these equal lows and below this support, it will flip resistance, and we'll look for continued selling. On the daily time frame here, we could see some equal lows, and I would love to see price break above these 210 highs to then go push to that 260. If we get wicked at these highs here of 210, again, we'll just look for the test of that support. If it closes below, it'll obviously flip resistance, and we'll probably go down and sweep that 170 liquidity down there. Cardano breaking below resistance, coming down, almost tapping back into that support. Closing the week pretty bullish. So again, we'll just wait for price to then go sweep these equal lows created here at 64 cents and then push up to that resistance at 77 cents. On the daily time frame here, again, let's get a break of these highs of 72 cents. We did get a close above these equal highs of 66 cents, so we should go push up perhaps and try to test those highs. If we end up closing bearish though on this daily candle below 64 cents, we'll definitely go test that 58.10 support. Chainlink on the week here, we have some equal lows. Again, look for the wick or the test of these equal lows to liquidate people and then to push back up. If we close below this resistance or the support, excuse me, of $17, it will flip resistance and we'll look for these lows down here of $11. But if we wick this and push back up and close above this $17 support, again, we'll look for the push to fill some imbalance and go test those highs. Looking on the daily time frame, Looking on the daily time frame, much like every pair, we can see some liquidity built up. Price is testing that $17 support. And now, of course, we'd like to see a close. So you can see we're getting wicked, a close above these equal highs and a close above those equal highs of $19. So we're going to go test this resistance here at $22. If we end up closing, though, the daily or weekly candle, we have some time on the week, but if we end up closing the weekly candle, excuse me, under this $17 support, it will flip resistance, obviously. XLM testing support perfectly, and over the past few weeks, we have held that support. So we'll look for the equal lows here at 31 cents to get liquidated, and then price to close bullish to push back up to that 40-cent resistance. If we end up closing below these equal lows of 31 cents, we'll definitely go down and test that higher time frame support there at 28 cents again. And on the daily time frame, of course, we have kind of a break of structure to the downside, and we could test possibly these highs, this order block. It does seem like we're downtrending right now. That's why it's important. Obviously, we said yesterday if we close above that equal high of 32 cents, we'll look for the push to these 35-cent highs. And again, just look for price to close bullish above these 35-cent highs to then go push to that higher time frame resistance. If we end up closing the day bearish, we'll probably break these 30-cent lows and go test this higher time frame support again. Oh, maybe I should have sold it more in the intro, but again, this is the most accurate crypto analysis on YouTube. So if you guys enjoy this type of in-depth technical analysis, drop a like, subscribe, and turn notifications on. Okay, Avalanche on the week here, closing well below that resistance of $21. So we will just look for the continued test of that resistance at $21. Buyers did seem to push this candle back up though before the weekly close. So we'll look for strength and we'll look for price to break that $21 resistance. If it closes above, again, just look for the break and retest. If we don't end up closing above and we get wicked, it'll just be continued rejection for these lows. Let's look on the daily time frame. And yes, on the daily time frame, as you can see, price is trying to come up to test that resistance, but honestly, price looks pretty exhausted here. And again, we're going to need a close above that $23 high to then go test these higher time frame resistance levels. Hedra HBAR, much like every other coin here, closing a bullish week out, but again, we need to go sweep these equal lows now, sweep out those equal lows before we could go push back up to that 23-cent resistance. If we close below those equal lows of 16 cents, we'll definitely go down and test that 13-cent support again. And on the daily time frame, we are just testing highs here, taking liquidity. So if we end up getting wicked and rejected, just look for the daily candle to push back down to that 16-cent price level. If we could continue closing bullish on the day, though, we're going to need the high to break of 20 cents before we could push back up into those higher time frame resistance levels. Litecoin, we did end up closing the week bullish, so we'll look for the test of that 103 resistance. If we close above it, just look for the break and retest. If we end up pushing down here today, though, look for the liquidation. Obviously, guys, whenever you see equal lows like this, perfect equal lows, look for the liquidation first and price to wick. Do we get buyers? Do we get strength here? Does price wick back up and test resistance? Or we could test resistance before doing that and then pushing down to test these lows. If we close below these lows, obviously we'll push down to higher time frame support. If we test them, wick and push back up, again, just look for the test of this higher time frame resistance at 103. Let's look at the daily time frame here. And as bullish as most of the weekly candles look on most of the pairs, the daily time frames honestly aren't that bullish. Seems like exhaustion will go down. We'll try to sweep those equal lows. But again, looks like kind of an exhausted push-up. Let's just look for the test of this resistance. Obviously, if we could close above this resistance, would be great, although we are going to get resistance here at about 115 as well because we have this break of structure. Polkadot, I don't know, maybe some of you would like to see Polkadot analysis, but honestly, guys, until we start closing back above some of these relative highs, there's nothing really going on. We're getting this huge resistance here at about $4. We did close the day or the week bullish, excuse me. We have equal lows. Just look for the test of those equal lows here. Let's look on the daily time frame again. We need to break this high of $3.40 to then go push back into that resistance. Uniswap closing the week back above that support at 6.6 or that resistance, excuse me. So hopefully to this weekly candle today, you could see obviously how we're wicking, how we're testing that. We closed above that resistance and now we're testing its support. So if we could close bullish or keep closing these daily candles above the support of 664, we'll look for the push back up in the higher time frame resistance. If we close below or get rejected, obviously we'll look for the sweep of those equal lows. But if we close back below this resistance, obviously we'll just keep down trending. Let's look on the daily time frames here. A huge push here on that last daily candle, Sunday's daily candle. And again, just look for either rejection at these highs or this resistance level to then go push down to lows, or look for continued strength in our break of this high here and our retest. And like always, I'm sounding like a broken record. I'm sorry, guys, but we have these equal lows here printed on the week. Obviously, we could test them. And if we close below on the daily candles or on the weekly time frame here, excuse me, this is ONDO Finance. What am I doing? Oh my God. We'll go test this higher time frame support at 66 cents. If we could close the daily candles above 78 cents, hopefully we'll go push for that dollar resistance again. But again, if we close below these equal lows of 72 cents, we'll definitely go push back down to that $66 support. Let's look at the daily time frames. And on the daily time frames, again, if we keep getting wicked and rejected here, we'll definitely go test that 66-cent support again. Polygon on the day here, not even gonna check the week. We'll check the week, but on the day we need to break these highs As you can see, some trend line liquidity built up. If we get wicked and rejected at these highs, we will just go push for these 15-cent lows. Let's look at the weekly time frame here. And on the week, we did close bullish though. So again, look for the liquidation of those weekly equal lows at 20 cents and then the push up. If we close below it, we'll push down. Pretty simple stuff. Flare closing the week, honestly, that looks like a pretty bearish candle to me, but we did hold support. So we will just look for price to continue pushing up. If we close below support here, obviously price will keep pushing down. If we can keep getting closes above, keep getting wicks above the support, just gives it more time to charge up out of here. But again, as you can see, price will probably keep testing this 0.07 support. Looking at the daily time frames here, as you can see, we have a break of structure kind of. We have an order block. It tested with that order block, and now we'll look for the break of these lows right here, perhaps for a sweep or something. But again, just look for price to continue testing this support here. Algorand obviously testing that 16-cent support, and we have equal lows just like every other coin here, 18 cents. So we'll look for the liquidation and then the push up to higher time frame resistance, or we'll look for the close below that and the test of higher time frame support. One day. Okay, on the daily time frames here. Yep, so even I sometimes have to think about it because again, it just seems like some exhaustion just building up liquidity before the push down, but we could get the pop off. Who knows? The weekly charts look better than the daily charts right now. Quant on the day here, you can see testing that $80 support, and I said we would like a close above that $85 these $85 highs here. We continue to get wicked at these equal highs, so again, just look for price to test that higher time frame support at $80. If again we could close above these equal highs of $84, we'll then go test that $94 high, but we are just downtrending into support here. IOTA, we definitely want to see a close above those 16-cent highs to then go push into higher time frame resistance and push up to test highs. If we close bearish though below 14 cents, we'll just continue to push down here. Let's check the daily time frame. And on this daily time frame, if we continue to get wicked and rejected at 15 cents here, again, we'll just push down to those lows. If we could close above or in or above this order block, we could then go look for the higher time frame resistance levels. And guys, XDC, we really don't even need to look at the weekly close, although that is kind of bullish. So we will just look for price to continue pushing up to that. Now test that 6-cent resistance, hopefully close above, flip it support, and we'll get the push to 10 cents. If we get rejected here, obviously just look for continuation of that bearish, just look for bearish continuation. Oh, geez, wouldn't you look at it? I forgot we have to analyze the meme coins because it is Meme Coin Monday. Can't forget to do that. Let's clean up this chart a little bit from our analysis last week. And as you can see, we did close the week above that support, so that's good. We'll look for a test of this 19-cent support to then go push up and fill some imbalance. Or we could liquidate those lows and go push up. If we end up closing below resistance or those equal lows on Dogecoin here, excuse me. Geez, what a crappy report today. I'm so sorry about this, guys. But you are still getting the most accurate price levels in crypto. If we end up closing below those equal lows and resistance, we'll just look for the break and retest for Doge to then go test these lows again. On the daily time frame, much like every other pair, again, we did close above those equal highs, but now we are testing these highs at 21 cents. So if we could close above that or retest this and then close above it again, we'll look for the push to higher time frame resistance. But if we close below that resistance or that support, it'll flip resistance and we'll look for the push lower. Shiba Inu here, let's clean this up. We never broke the lows. As you guys could see, we are still sweeping lows, wicking out at lows, and we did form some equal lows. If you guys don't understand equal lows at this point, after today's episode, I don't know what to tell you either. We have some weekly equal lows here. So we could liquidate that, push up, test this resistance if obviously we break above, well, obviously we'd like to see a close above these highs here and above that resistance to flip its support to then go push to our higher time frame price levels. What is in my mic? That noise just done it again. What is going on here? I have no idea. I keep hearing this weird noise in my mic. Sorry for that, guys. It just keeps interrupting me. Break and retest for our higher time frame resistance levels, or just test it and keep trending bearish. Just distracted me. Just freaking distracted me. I don't know what is going on here. Oh gosh, excuse me, guys. And on the daily time frame here, we did close above those equal highs, so we'll just look for continued strength to test that resistance. Pepe here also sweeping lows, closing a nice bullish weekly candle, leaving equal lows here. We'll look for the test of these equal lows, price to wick those equal lows, and then head back up to that resistance flip here. As you can see, beautiful support and resistance flip here and break of structure almost. If we could end up closing bullish back above this resistance, we'll flip its support and then we'll look for the push up to our higher time frame resistance levels. But if we end up closing bearish below these lows, obviously we'll just go test these lows again. And on the daily time frame on Pepe, just look for the close below these lows or the push above these highs to test that resistance. Okay, guys, that wraps up Monday's episode of the Crypto Charts Daily Report. Sorry I was all over the place today. But again, we still have the most accurate, best analysis on crypto YouTube. If you don't believe me, go look at the prior episodes. But anyway, guys, I do appreciate the support. Like, comment, and subscribe. Turn notifications on. Share with your friends that suck at trading crypto. And I'll see you guys for Wednesday's episode. Anyway, guys, enjoy the week and peace out.